Leadership during crisis. We think we know what it looks like, Daniel, but Eisenhower's presidency completely changes that narrative. Here was a five-star general who became one of America's most effective peacetime presidents.
That's such an interesting paradox, Pappy. A military commander who turned out to be a master of avoiding war. His approach to the Cold War was really remarkable.
Let me share something fascinating about that, Daniel. Within months of taking office, he ended the Korean War with a ceasefire that's still holding today. But here's what people don't often realize. He did it by secretly conveying to China that he was willing to use nuclear weapons if peace talks failed.
Hmm, so he was using the threat of force to achieve peace? That seems like a dangerous game.
Well, that's what made his massive retaliation doctrine so effective. The Soviets and their allies knew he had the military experience and the weapons to back up his threats, but, and this is crucial, he never actually had to use them.
You know what really stands out to me about his presidency? The interstate highway system. That project literally reshaped America.
Oh man, let me tell you about the scale of that project. It was the largest public works program in American history. 41,000 miles of highway costing about $114 billion in 1956 dollars. That's around $1.2 trillion today.
Those numbers are massive. How did he convince Congress to approve something that big?
Here's what made it brilliant. He sold it as a defense project. Having seen Germany's Autobahn during the war, he argued that America needed these highways for military mobility. But of course, the real impact was on civilian life. It completely transformed how Americans lived, worked, and traveled.
Speaking of transformation, his handling of civil rights was pretty groundbreaking for a Republican president in the 1950s, wasn't it?
Let me paint that picture for you. When Governor Faubus of Arkansas defied the Supreme Court's desegregation order, Eisenhower didn't just make speeches, he sent in the 101st Airborne Division. Think about that, using federal troops to protect black students. It was unprecedented.
That must have taken incredible political courage, especially given the climate of the times.
And you know what's really interesting? He managed all this while maintaining remarkable popularity. That "I like Ike's" slogan wasn't just clever marketing. He had this unique ability to make bold moves seem like common sense.
Well, that probably had something to do with his economic success too, right? The 1950s were incredibly prosperous under his leadership.
Exactly. And here's what made his economic approach unique. He called it modern republicanism, basically accepting New Deal programs but running them more efficiently. Under his leadership, we saw low inflation, low unemployment, and rising living standards.
So he was really threading the needle between conservative principles and progressive action.
And that brings us to one of his most prophetic moments, his farewell address, warning about the military industrial complex. Here's this former general telling Americans to be wary of the growing influence of defense contractors. It took 21 drafts to get that speech right.
That warning seems more relevant than ever today, doesn't it?
You know what's fascinating? He saw these dangers clearly because he understood both the military and political worlds so intimately. He knew that unchecked military spending could threaten democracy itself.
Looking back now, what do you think is the most important lesson we can learn from Eisenhower's presidency?
I think it's his understanding that true leadership isn't about forcing your will on others. It's about building consensus and helping people see why certain actions are necessary. Remember his quote, "Leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. That's as relevant today as it was in the 1950s.
That really captures his whole approach, doesn't it, Pappy? The way he could be both firm and diplomatic, progressive and conservative, all while maintaining this image of steady, trustworthy leadership.
And maybe that's his greatest legacy, Daniel, showing that effective leadership doesn't have to be flashy or dramatic. Sometimes it's just about showing up every day, making thoughtful decisions, and keeping your eye on the long-term good of the country.